What's up, Bears fans? Welcome into Bears Now by Chat Sports. I am Harrison Graham. What a hectic NFL trade deadline, not only for the Bears, but across the league. The NFL trade deadline is officially an event. I mean, for years it was not, but as we've seen over the last week, and especially the past 24 to 48 hours, it was wild. So shout out to the league. It's only good for the sport when things like this can happen. Tons of moves taking place, including the Bears making 3 trades. So on today's show, we're going to hand out some grades for Ryan Poles and the boys, react to the trade deadline, break it all down for you guys. We might have another video later as well, so stay tuned. But let's jump right in here. Chase Claypool to the Bears. That ends up being the big one, especially yesterday, as in a mild surprise after looking like a team that was purely going to be sellers. Ryan Poles flips a second-round pick over to the Pittsburgh Steelers and lands Chase Claypool. And this obviously drew a lot of attention because when you trade Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn, you're thinking, oh, this team's going to be sellers. But what did I say? What did people say? Well, this is a team that still needs a receiver, and if you get a young guy with some team control, it could make some sense. Insert Chase Claypool, and that is exactly what happens here. You look at Claypool's career up to this point. We've talked about him a lot now. Spent a couple hours talking about him live yesterday. We've talked about him on prior videos. His first 2 years, he essentially averaged 60 catches for 865 yards. And then obviously the first year, 9 touchdowns, only 2 the second year. But remember, that was Big Ben's last year. He had fallen off a cliff. This year, the numbers are down a little bit overall, but Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, the quarterback certainly comes into play. Now he comes to Chicago, Justin Fields, deep ball thrower. I think it's a really, really good match. Here's Ryan Poles on trading for Chase Claypool. Keeping it simple, right? You can never have enough weapons and guys that help your quarterback gain confidence. And that's absolutely right. And I give Poles a lot of credit because he's taken some heat for they didn't give Fields enough help. I get the salary cap thing was a problem, but they should have done more. He remained patient. And hey, he flips Roquan, gets a second and a fifth, trades his own second to go get Chase Claypool. There's no doubt this was a Justin Fields move. It's, hey, our quarterback's getting better. Let's help him get even more better by getting another weapon to pair with Darnell Mooney. I don't think this is a finished offense by any stretch of the imagination, but that's 2 good places to start with Mooney and Claypool at wide receiver, and it helps Justin Fields quite a bit. You got to think he woke up this morning feeling very happy about what took place yesterday. My grade for this trade, I'm going to go A-. I've seen the national kind of pundits be all over the place from it's an A trade to it's a D trade. It's this, it's that, it's an overpay, it's a good value. I think it's a good trade because it's a signal that you're building around your quarterback. This franchise has not done that enough historically. And he's 6'4", 235 pounds and runs a 4.4 40. Gives you a different element than what Darnell Mooney does. I like this. He's under contract through next year. That gives you a year and a half to evaluate him with Justin Fields. I'm a big fan of this move. Time will tell, but I think right now I'm a big fan of it. And hey, if you're excited to have Chase Claypool in Chicago, and if you want to show him some love, give him a warm welcome, just like this video. Let's get over 1,000 likes on this show to show Chase Claypool some love here at Bears Now. I know you guys will deliver. Go ahead and like this video. Obviously, with the fun trade on the other side, sometimes a tough one, right? Roquan Smith to the Ravens on Monday. That was a tough pill to swallow. I mean, Roquan's been a cornerstone guy here since he was drafted 4 or 5 years ago. Here are the trade details for those who may have missed it or if you just want to recap here. A second, a fifth, and A.J. Klein, who is kind of really just a throw-in to help you get through this season at linebacker. Second and fifth, so that is the second the Bears now will have. The one from Baltimore, they traded their own for Claypool. They also have that extra 5th-round pick as well. To me, this was Poles' biggest move yet. Now, you could argue, well, then Claypool became the biggest move he's made as GM, but they kind of worked hand in hand, right? It's just a shift in philosophy. Ryan Poles is saying, hey, you know what? Roquan Smith is a cornerstone guy. He's a great player, but he even admitted the way negotiations went in training camp that it was a long shot that a deal was going to get done in his mind. He said, you know what? We're shifting from an off-ball linebacker position that's not that valuable to wide receiver, a position that is valuable. Sure, Roquan's a better player in overall football talent than Chase Claypool, but Claypool is still ascending and can get better and gives you a position of need at a very important time in your franchise's history. And I thought Colin Cowherd, who, say what you want, sometimes these national pundits, sometimes they say crazy stuff, sometimes they make sense. I agree with him here on the Roquan trade. He says, this is a great move. They're looking through the windshield and not clinging to the 1985 Bears. And I agree with that. Now, and I say all of this, I'll give it a B grade. You would have hoped to get a little bit more for a player of Roquan's caliber, but I still think it's a good move. And I say all of this saying a couple things. Roquan's a great player, and I would have been fine if he stayed here. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have an agent. He played very hardball in negotiations. Poles straight up told us, and I appreciate the candidness, that I'll be honest, I wasn't convinced we could get a long-term deal done based on what happened just a couple of months ago in the negotiations. He publicly requested a trade a couple months ago. Like, this stuff matters, and hey, he's building around the quarterback. We got to give Poles credit. He's being brutally honest, and there's a shift in Chicago, and I'm definitely here for it. Did you like the Roquan Smith trade? We don't have to like it, but we can certainly understand it. You can type U for understand, type L for like, D for dislike, or U for understand if you want. And let me know in the comments, because certainly some mixed emotions, I'm sure. All right, Robert Quinn to the Eagles. Obviously, this one happened last week. We won't spend as much time on this move, but we said it at the time. We'll say it again. Aging pass rusher, 32 years old, only 1 sack this year. You get a 4th-round pick for him. You eat the rest of his salary this year, then he's off the books. And, hey, Philadelphia actually agreed with him to chop off the final 2 years of his contract, so he's a free agent next year if he balls out. Hell, if you want to bring him back on a 1 or 2 year deal, hey, maybe that's a possibility. Who knows? Quinn's family might just stay in Chicago the rest of the season since he's a free agent after this year now. I think a 4th-round pick is a win for Chicago. I mean, I just do. I don't think you were going to get more than that based on what he produced. I guessed a 5th or a 6th is what you would get with his contract, his age, and his lack of production this year. You get a 4th, I think it's an A-. I think it's pretty good. The reason it's not an A or an A+, you trade him before the season, coming off that year last year, maybe you get a 3rd, so sure, like, I'll dock it a little bit. I'll go minus there. But based on when they traded him and based on what he's been producing this year, I think it's a pretty good trade for Ryan Poles. What is also a pretty cool app is the Call-In app, which we've talked about for a few weeks now. It's like Twitter Spaces, your chance to call into the show and react to everything that's going on with the Bears. We will have a post-game show after the Dolphins game on Sunday, and if you want to download the app, left side of your screen is a QR code for iOS, your Apple Store. Right side, Google Play, Android App Store there. QR code, if you, depending on what your smartphone company is. I told you guys what this app is, weekly live shows, your chance to call in, my chance to hear from you guys directly, not just read your messages here on YouTube, your questions as well, which we love doing that, but call-in's even more fun. Download the app on iOS and Android. Subscribe, chatsports.com/BearsCallin. We will do this all season long and hopefully continue to grow. All right, I do want to outline, too, couple guys that you kept that were linked to trade rumors, David Montgomery being first. And I know there was kind of a split here. Well, Khalil Herbert's been better than him. Why not trade Monty? He's a free agent after this year. I like keeping Monty around for a couple of reasons. One, he's clearly a leader on this team. He has an impact in the locker room. Guys gravitate toward him. And he just, when he's playing, it seems like this team just plays well and does some good things, especially in the passing game. I've told you guys, Khalil Herbert has been a better runner in this system this year. The numbers tell us that. I mean, that's not really debatable. As a pure runner, Khalil Herbert's been much more efficient. They're basically splitting carries, and look at the difference in yardage. About, it's 200-yard difference there. But this is a very good 1-2 punch, and if this is a team that's going to run the football a lot, and I still think they will, they even talked about Chase Claypool as, yeah, he's going to be this big weapon, but he's a fantastic and violent blocker in the run game as well. This is still going to be a team that runs the football. Luke Getsy has found something there. You can't give Khalil Herbert 30 carries a game. And I think David Montgomery can be a guy that can come back next year, $5-6 million. I mean, is a team out there going to throw him $10 million per year? If they do, hey, good for him. And, yeah, he maybe could have gotten a 5th-round pick yesterday, but I'm willing to take that chance, keep him this year, and if he walks, he walks, but he likes Chicago. This offense is gelling right now. Keep the offensive pieces right now and give Justin Fields the best chance to grow this season and beyond. Now, would you like to keep David Montgomery beyond this year? Because I would. If the price is right, keep him around. Even if Herbert ascends as the true RB1, Montgomery will have a role. Believe me on that. Type Y for yes, type in for no. I would like to keep him around in Chicago. I don't think he'll cost a ton of money either, and the Bears got plenty of money to spend. I also liked keeping Eddie Jackson. There was rumors around Monty and Jackson the last 2-3 days. Oh, well, you trade Quinn, then Roquan gets dealt. Could more guys be gone? Which that was fair to assume that could be the case. I'm sure there were calls on both these guys, but Ryan Poles opts to keep them. Eddie Jackson's having a hell of a year. I mean, I think now he is your tackles leader now that Roquan is not on the team. He's got 58, 4 breakups, 4 picks, 2 forced fumbles. I mean, he is bought into the hits principles that Matt Eberflus and Alan Williams have installed, especially for this defense. And Flus just named him a team captain. That probably should have been a signal that they were not going to trade him, because after trading Roquan, they name Jackson a captain. You would think Poles and Eberflus have a conversation. Flus is like, hey, I'm about to name him a captain. Should I wait until after the deadline before I do that? That did not happen. So he's a leader. He's playing good football again, and I think he can be here beyond 2022 now. Coming into this year, I was like, unless he plays very well, they'll cut him and save the cap space after this year. But the way he's playing and the way the secondary is starting to come together, and plus you don't want to create another hole that you have to fill this offseason. You're already going to have to add in the trenches on both sides, linebacker potentially, probably another receiver. Let the secondary grow together for another year or two. Eddie's not going to be here for 7 years, but he's under contract 2 more years. You don't have to move on from him if he's playing at this level. Overall thoughts before we get out of here. And by the way, subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/BearsNow. Ryan Poles is doing it his way, right? He wants to build through the draft, but he's also recognizing, hey, Chase Claypool can help us now. The wide receiver group in free agency next year isn't that good. Let's bring him in here. He is making calculated moves. I am a fan of what he is doing, and he's not sorry for what he's doing. He's telling us how things are going. How many GMs would come to the podium and say, yeah, with the way negotiations went with Roquan, I don't think we would have been able to bring him back. Most would have just dodged that question and been like, yeah, it just didn't work out. He told us straight up what happened. I'm a fan of that. A for Ryan Poles with his candidness. I'm a fan. Trade deadline grades. There you go. Hit that sub button. We'll probably have another video later today, so stay tuned for that. I'm Harrison Graham. We'll see you soon here on the channel.